Did you get it to me?
I changed it twice.
Go ahead and call the meeting to order, and we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And she's coming on board. Wally's gonna be a little late this morning. He had a meet and greet doctor appointment this morning, so he'll be joining us shortly. Want to do a roll call?
Committee member Matthew Bechtel,
Present.
committee member Lena Tucker,
Here.
vice committee chair Bob Dalton,
Here.
and committee member Nancy Patton,
Here.
committee member Deborah Northern.
Here.
Thank you.
Hey. Good morning. If you have time reports, I know there's probably some out there floating around, probably from the Ivy Pool. If you haven't turned in your time reports for the month, then please do so. Meeting minutes, if you take a chance, take a look at the meeting minutes. Come over.
Yeah.
Where's our new member? In here yet?
We don't have a new member anymore, though.
Oh, she resigned?
That's scary.
Yeah, I think we had somebody and then I suppose some other circumstances resulted in her resigning, and I do believe we received another application, so
Okay.
hopefully soon. It'll be back up to the full.
That's probably the shortest term we've had.
It's here.
Do we have a,
I'd say it doesn't count.
do we have a motion on the minutes?
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Fast reader. Give me two
Rather than my
I second that.
Motion's been made, first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
seconds.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Minutes accepted. Okay, any public comment out there? Person in the back says no, so welcome. Okay. No public comment, so we'll just move on to new business and get right to the Sweet Home Arts Master Plan presentation. Good morning and thank you for being here.
you have trouble, I can put it up too.
Are you awake, Dominic?
I guess we're waiting for a picture to come in. Are we waiting for a picture to come up?
We're trying to
Yeah.
get her computer
Oh.
connected.
We're getting there.
Do something. Did you get Ivy Pole? That weekend.
Busy gal. I've been there a couple days.
We need.
Dawn the other day, her grandmother. to, She said, "These surgery, you have an hysterectomy." That's what they posted.
Grandma's a bishop, James's wife. What's her name?
I think she has. I think she has cancer.
That's kind of close your eyes.
I did remember working on this.
If you mute your laptop.
Oh,
Sound effects.
There you go.
That's cool.
We're playing a game.
So we didn't even have it there. I thought we was going for it.
Hello, hello.
Finally,
Hello?
change.
No,
Huh?
no, we can't.
Page 7.
Amphitheater,
We don't have money.
amphitheater.
We don't have money.
Well, we're not gonna
Forward.
put in a bandstand. We're gonna have a portable.
It's the wish list.
Okay. But they need to change that word amphitheater, not bandstand. You know, how, huh? It's on,
seven.
it says Century Park,
If you organize.
bandstand, right there. Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Helps us look
Need to be changed because people don't want to pay for a bandstand.
Right. They're gonna just put that,
So now it's
That
that
word
word.
needs to be
They share
that
this.
as Fowler. Reading.
Okay, thanks for waiting for me to get through my technology challenges. Um, Good morning, thanks for having us. Again, it's good to see all of you. My name's Elizabeth, a landscape architect at Cameron McCarthy, and we're here to share an update on the park system plan this morning. Slides to the web. Sorry, I'm having trouble moving through the slides.
It's okay, I can see it that way.
It was with
You always need a correction in this one on it. Your eyes. No, I need both.
Yeah, I'll share. No, I won't. I mean,
I had dental surgery.
oh, okay.
There's like 4 things you
Okay.
can do.
It's working now. I'm sorry about that.
You're okay. There we go.
Okay. So thanks again for having us. We're excited to share an update. So
Yeah.
I'm just sorry. I'm going to wait a second because it says it's sharing on my screen, but it's not up there.
Might be
So-
something I did.
I think we're just.
It says you're sharing right now?
It does, but I can stop and
Yeah. stop sharing.
reshare. Maybe
There you go.
it needs to. Just share the entire screen.
The plaque wasn't ready by then.
Read it.
Oh, I see what the problem is.
Oh, for crying out loud.
It was Blair.
There we go.
Oh, thank you.
It's
so
early.
much.
That's not coffee.
Homework, right?
That's not to be there.
All right.
Okay.
Okay,
Good.
cool.
Now we're set.
All right, third time's a charm. Good morning. Thanks for having us. We are here today to share an update on the park system plan process, and specifically, we want to share draft recommendations with you. And just to kind of refresh where we are in the entire process, we're reviewing draft recommendations with you today. Those are based on the goals and the needs assessment that we shared last time. And the next step would be to incorporate your comments on the recommendations and then move into documenting all of the work into a plan document and then moving forward with the adoption process. And just to touch briefly on the goals, which inform the recommendations, the needs assessment informed these goals, and that was based on community outreach feedback, community demographics, and the inventory of the park system. So the goals we've identified in the plan are developing and improving facilities, enhancing the level of service and connectivity within the system. We also want to improve physical accessibility in parks, and then expand resources that are available for improvements, and then expand park services for improved access and inclusion of all residents. So we have identified recommended projects for the majority of parks in the system. And then most of the parks have at least one high level recommendation. And we've organized the recommendations by the park type, and then we've listed recommendations for each park in phases, and then assigned each phase a priority level of high, medium, or low. Another way to think of that too is whether it's a short-term project, longer term, or towards the very end of the planning period over the next 20 years. So I'll start with the neighborhood parks. Ashbrook Park had one high-level priority project, which was installing restrooms, lighting, and security cameras. Oh, and all of these tables are also in that memo in front of you if you want to look more closely. I'll focus a little bit more on the high-level projects, but I'll summarize the others as well. So more long-term projects for Ashbrook Park, we recommend improving parking, replacing the playgrounds, resurfacing the basketball court, and then adding a loop trail and some site furnishings. At Clover Park, we do have one high level recommendation, which is implementing a closure at the intersection with the highway along First Street, and to install some traffic calming design features there. And then also to improve visibility through the park, which would mean lowering just the elevation in the wall of Fountain Hill. Longer term, we recommend a playground and site furnishings at that park, as well as drainage and landscape improvements. For the other remaining neighborhood parks, we recommend one high-level recommendation at Northside, which is the River Access Trail and a platform for fishing and viewing. And then long-term at Northside, we can see recommending a basketball court and improving the racquetball and tennis courts, as well as remodeling the playground, and then landscape and site furnishings and some security cameras. And at Strawberry Park, we have one high-level recommendation, and that's improving parking and installing a loop trail. And long-term recommendations include restroom, landscape improvements, and irrigation, as well as adding to the playground and installing a pavilion. The system has one community park and one natural area park. So at Sankey Park, we recommend designing and constructing the bandstand as a high-level project. And then long-term, a splash pad, pump track, restroom, and basketball court are recommended, as well as a pedestrian bridge to the community
Is
center.
this
Yep.
now a time when I can talk about Sankey and what that high priority thing, or do you want me to wait?
Wait,
Should wait probably
Yeah,
for.
Maybe,
we'll have questions in a minute.
yeah,
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
Park by park.
Yeah, I'll make a note though. Okay. Let's see. All right, and then at the Hobart Natural Area Park, we recommend the first step would be to develop a natural area management plan in the short term, and then long term developing parking improvements and roadway access from 35th, and then installing trails, site furnishings, landscape improvements, just refining those trailheads, and then adding lighting and wetland restoration. For special use and undeveloped parks, we don't have any high-level recommendations, but long-term, we see resurfacing the parking area at the boat ramp and then installing site furnishings and landscape improvements at Walkabout and Halfway parks, as well as some sidewalk improvements along the road at Halfway Park. So we did find during the needs assessment that there is a need for new parks in the park system. And we have recommended 3 new parks for the system that have identified sites currently. So 2 are neighborhood parks, and then 1 would be classified as a regional park. The site adjacent to City Hall is identified and recommended to be developed as a neighborhood park. And there are a couple high priority recommendations, and those are to relocate the covered bridge from Sankey Park and then install a dog park and path to the neighborhood for pedestrians. And then long-term installing a playground to just round out that park as a neighborhood park.
Just to interrupt real quick, keep in mind that covered bridge is the Dollenberg Bridge, definitely not Weddell Bridge.
Oh, yeah. We should probably clarify that. And then the second neighborhood park would be at 42nd and Osage Street. And we have identified approximately 5 acres there that can be developed as a neighborhood park. And that is also a high priority recommendation. And then the last new park we've identified is the Quarry property. It can be developed as a regional park. And those, we don't have high-level recommendations for that, but we do see developing multi-use paths, as well as picnic shelters and a pavilion and some informational kiosks at that site. So one of the goals for the plan is improving connectivity within the system. And we see addressing that by developing a trail system plan. That is also a high priority recommendation. And then we have 2 land acquisition recommendations. One is a neighborhood park on the east side of town, which currently has a lower inventory of parks in the system. So we recommend developing or acquiring and developing 5 to 15 acres for a neighborhood park. And that site could include a playground, basketball court, pavilion, and restroom. We see that as kind of a medium or middle term priority. And then conducting a feasibility study for an outdoor event center. That's a longer term recommendation. And then I'll wrap up by addressing some system level recommendations, which are kind of broader, higher level. One of those is adopting a level of service of 6 acres per 1,000 residents. That would be increasing the current level of service. And the recommendations that we've included support that. And I'll go into a little more detail on the next slide. Our second recommendation for the system is that as park facilities are developed, factoring in consistent signage and site furnishings for the parks kind of across the board is recommended. Just for consistency and also cost efficiency and legibility for users. And then our last recommendation for the system is adopting or amending the development code to include park land dedication or development funding standards for subdivision and planning development approvals. We think this will support new park development. Okay, and then just a little more information about level of service. Adopting a level of service of 6 acres per 1,000 residents would, or just in other terms to think about it, it would be about 41 new park acres over 20 years. And kind of the other way that level of service is measured is the number of parks per resident. So we recommend increasing the number of new parks over that planning period as well. And those go hand in hand. So it would be 41 acres across 3 to 4 parks, not in addition. Okay. So I want to circle back to your question, if you want to do that now. And
Cindy
in,
Park?
oh, go ahead.
Sankey Park high priority. I thought we had decided we were against using the word bandstand because we couldn't get people. We needed to use the word amphitheater.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good with that change.
Okay.
And I think, yeah, I would argue that, yeah, amphitheater is a better term.
The grant is a certain bandstand / community event.
Events. Okay.
For the purposes of the current grant, we need to stick with that terminology.
All right.
Right, and I think you mentioned that
Yeah.
the last meeting.
Yeah.
was
How that, once that is done though, once that grant is completed, we can certainly call it whatever the heck we want and whatever is most fitting.
Just need to bring that up again.
Yeah, no, it's a
Okay.
good point.
I just think when I see over a 20-year period, how old I will be in 20 years, the priorities will change for access for me. So, no, first of all, I want to say that, it's awesome to see this quality of plan being put together in the way it is. It's easy to look at it, what's in front of us, and prioritize and organize and move forward with funding possibilities in that. So I think job well done on your part. I appreciate that. It makes me think that when I see this in front of us is we need more park board members and more staff here to accomplish this. Yeah, Blair probably agrees with that one.
Well, and the money.
Yeah, more money. The other thing when I look at this too is as we develop parks, and I know that Blair and the group just had a community event where people could have input. And I think one of the things marketing our parks is going to be a big thing for us because we still face today, where people come in and they don't know where the parks are at. And we have a lot of these parks. And I think for us, that signage and marketing plan that we can put together, how do we market our parks in such a way that people go, I want to go to Sweet Home. Look, they have a lot of parks that families, but
Is that something you would want to add to the system level recommendations?
I think so. I mean, marketing to me is going to be pretty valuable to how people utilize our parks and we sell them for the community. I mean, Sankey Park, there's been so much focus on that. I'm take a great deal of pride of what this group has accomplished and the Public Works to bring that park to the where it is today. Because my wife and I walk by there almost every day, and there's just people there. There's families there. There's children there. And I know in the beginning we couldn't really visualize that at first. When we started taking trees out, it's like, oh my goodness, we're taking all the trees out. It's awesome today. It's first class, and that just reflects the hard work by people like yourselves in this group and Angela and getting funding to make that happen. And so, job well done.
Yeah, we can explore that as a system recommendation. I'm certain that we have a goal or goals that support increasing awareness, visibility, and exposure around parks, and we can work with staff to craft a system recommendation that gives the city some actions it can do to increase awareness about where parks are, what they have to offer, marketing materials, visibility. We've done similar things in other cities and can explore that.
So for like Blair and Angela, from your perspective, when you see this sort of plan, I think budgets, how does that play into effect for the city side of it?
So this is certainly aspirational, and I'm philosophically, I'm very much in favor of aspirational plans, but you need to make sure there's components within them that are feasible, so you can pace yourself as you seek to get there. At the end of 20 years, if we don't have all this, are we going to beat ourselves up? I mean, we'll be disappointed, but we're not going to, it's not going to be a big deal. We want to, this is a goal of where we want to end up. And certainly there's a number of things that definitely can be accomplished during that period. The important thing about a plan like this is that when you have a publicly adopted plan that has public support, public input as it's been created, and then public adoption, which is what we're aiming for with this plan, that gives the plan a lot more weight when it comes to applying for funding, for regardless of what form that funding comes from. And so it's good to be aspirational because it opens you up to future funding opportunities.
So
It's already on.
oh, sorry. So you said in the beginning that you had ways to help us earn money.
Yeah, we are working on, that's kind of the last chapter of the plan is implementation and a funding strategy. And we are in process of developing cost estimates for all of these projects and then spreading those costs out over the next 20 years. It is an aspirational plan. We recognize that we would hope that you can accomplish most of the projects, but you will not accomplish all of the projects. That's the reality, as Blair said. It is aspirational and visionary. So within that, we are developing funding and financing options. One of the system recommendations is to make some development code updates that will make it easier for the city to acquire parkland as development occurs. And then there's various sources for grant funding, talk about partnerships, private involvement and, system improvements, volunteerism, grants. So can't wave a magic wand and bring like 5 million to the park system like this, but we can develop a strategy to help you get there. And then this is meant to be adaptable and flexible. So projects will come back to this committee and city through their budgeting process and be reevaluated and reprioritized on an annual basis based on what funding is available. And we would hope that this plan does provide leverage for the city to go out and get more funding for projects.
And Blair, correct me if I'm wrong also. So having an adopted plan like this will also help guide the counselor staff improvement plan budgeting. That's where this plan helps. It helps guide that, even though it is, a projected 20-year plan. It gives us an opportunity to tell the counselors, we did go through a vetting process. We did, get public input. And so this makes these kind of becomes a priority when it comes to funding for capital improvement projects.
I think that's a really good point. And one of the most important things about your role within this and the public part of this is that once this is adopted, we don't want it sitting on a shelf. We don't want it to be forgotten. We want this to be a constantly referred to document, and want to ensure that our parks plans are in accordance with it, and that if they're not, this is amended in some way and so forth. So that continual reminder to the council, to staff of, hey, this is what the public wants. This is what we all engaged in. And that is incredibly helpful, because a lot of the funding that we're going to be talking about and that may be recommended, grant funding is easy because it doesn't take a lot of political will to say, oh, let's go get free money. But free money is harder to get than community money. So when it comes to donations, when it comes to allocation of existing taxes, when it comes to any requests for other support from the public, this document is going to be incredibly important. And I guess I see it as partially your role to this is basically going to be your Parks Bible that we want you to proselytize to the whole community and remind people of what they said they want. And because it's going to take some difficult decisions of what are they willing to give up to get what they want. That's just the way government works.
Well, I think the thing seeing a 20-year plan, one that makes it a little bit more easier to digest, thinking, well, we don't have to accomplish this all in the first year or the 5 years. I always look at a big plan like that is you got low hanging fruit. What's the easy picks and what's the long-term ones? And definitely there's long-term ones in here. And I think it goes back, Blair, to what I was talking a little bit about marketing. How do you market it in such a way that the public is eager to jump in there and be a part of that? Now, marketing I think we got to get good at how we market. I mean, when we went after funding for the bandstand, the community center, that's the first time I ever come up against a wall in my career of finding money. Because before, in the past, it was easy for me to go out and find funds, and this was a more difficult one. And I don't know if it's just the way we presented it or the image of it, the perception, how it was going to be used. And for us, I've done a lot of that stuff, but for others that haven't been there and done that, it's more difficult to go knock on that door and ask someone for $5,000 or $10,000 and what do I get for that? And that's what you get a lot is, what do I get out of that? So that's why I'm so adamant about a good marketing process and us having the skill set and the tools available to us to make it successful. So when we go out there, we're all on the same page and we're doing the same thing. So to me, that's, job well done. Now, as you talk about population, I take it that when you add all these extra parks, you're calculating in that as the population grows, that these additional parks will come along and support that. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, this is all based on population forecasts, which are produced by PSU annually, are embedded in your comprehensive plan, and really all of your long range planning. So yes, you need to acquire new parkland to meet the needs of that growing population, and then we've identified that you are a little which is the lower quartile across the country over the next 20 years. And you do have some resources to help you get there with Quarry Park property and City Hall property and the Osage property. And then it's really about
acquiring new parkland in that big area that's underserved. And then within that, there's a smaller segment where we're looking at potential of outdoor event center. But yeah, we are anticipating a population growth.
Obviously, this isn't the first one of these you've put together. Is there something that you see from your perspective that we don't have on this?
No, you have a good mix of different park types. We especially, Sankey Park, Hobart, Quarry Park has a lot of potential. We do see a lot of potential for expansion of the trail system, and that's why there's a recommendation in there that as soon as you get done with this plan, you develop a trails plan, and we see a lot of potential for trails along the river, trails along the creek corridor, trails connecting to the trail you've already built, and I think you've got a good foundation for your park system. That the biggest deficit is not having a park in that large underserved area to the southeast, which we do anticipate residential growth. So we see more maintaining what you have, improving what you have. Strawberry Park could be improved. Basketball courts and multi-purpose courts and all playgrounds, improvements on all other parks. But yeah, really, I think trying to find land in that underserved area is the biggest deficit we see right now. And then we are giving you some recommendations to how to go about acquiring that land when development occurs.
So I have some questions about Clover Park.
Yeah.
The priority for implement First Street closure at northern intersection with San Am Highway and install traffic calming design.
You talk about that?
Sure.
Yeah.
It could look like different things, but essentially it limits car traffic or helps a driver in a car's perception of a street to help them drive slower. So sometimes that could look like planters or bollards or barriers. There's definitely ways to make them look like visually appealing. So we're not necessarily recommending anything specific, but it's usually some form of physical structure that helps either narrow or block a street.
Isn't that, Blair, kind of what your traffic committee is doing?
Yeah, so this is one of the areas where the Parks Master Plan is butting up against some other activities with the city. The Traffic Safety Committee has made some recommendations and has explored some changes to First Avenue. As you may or may not be aware, right now First Avenue is essentially used as a shortcut between Highway 20 and Highway 228. Mm-hmm. This is also being looked at as part of our transportation system plan process, which is also ongoing. So we're full of plans right now. But the issue there is that it's a street that's not designed for that level of traffic, but it's heavily used for that level of that kind of traffic. So the question is, what do you do about it? And it's really uncertain to me how that's going to shake out. One of the proposals is that we could, there's a couple of things where the needs of the park coincide with the needs of the neighborhood, where some changes at that intersection of First Avenue and Highway 20 have the benefit of potentially adding parking for Clover while at the same time calming down traffic on First Avenue. And that could be in several different ways. It could be changing that intersection to a one-way on First Avenue, where you're only able to enter First Avenue from Highway 20, or you're only able to exit First Avenue to Highway 20, but not both. That's one option. You could change it to a right-in, right-out situation at that intersection, where you put concrete up so that you only have the option of turning right out of First Avenue and turning right into First Avenue. I don't know what method will eventually be chosen. I just know that there's been a number of complaints over the years from the neighborhood, and it is an issue where you have a lot of traffic there that's not really appropriate for that type of street. If I was planning that as part of a subdivision now, it wouldn't be a through street. It would be a couple of cul-de-sacs, simply because that's what's appropriate for that type of neighborhood. But historically, this is what we're left with. And so I guess what I would recommend at this point is to keep this language as vague as possible, to essentially just say, align, keep Clover Park in mind when it comes to any changes to First Avenue, because there's not a commitment at this point from the council on how that's going to shake out. But it is moving in a direction where something is likely.
That's going to be a tough one, because I know if you was to shut that one off and you shift everybody down to the light to use 228 from that access, I get so frustrated when I'm sitting there and there's like 4 log trucks sitting back and a couple semis, and you're sitting there and you're waiting to make this turn. You can't make the turn. And by the time it does the light change, you're like, maybe I should have went up to first and cut through.
And
You know?
and
That's
one
the
of the
dilemma. That's a tough
one of the
one.
reasons why the transportation system plan is involved in this, because that's a ODOT funded project. ODOT's involved in that. That's 2 ODOT right of ways meeting each other. We've brought up the inadequacies of that interchange in our staff meetings with them, and we have an upcoming public advisory committee meeting with that TSP where that will also be discussed. At the same time, we also have an open house coming up that will be, keep your eyes peeled for that. It'll be either the 29th or the 30th of May, where public will be invited in to take a look. Actually, no, not 29th, 30th of May. That's a different plan. June, sorry, it'll be June 3rd in the evening, an open house to talk about the transportation system plan and kind of present some of the ideas that have been talked about. So that is certainly something that we really want the public to be involved in, because we want to make sure that transportation is tricky. And this is off topic. I'm sorry. Transportation is tricky because you have certain things that are safe, but they're not safe until the public knows how to use them, and they're not safe until the public is comfortable with them. And so, for example, it's shown that that big traffic circles lead to less head-on collisions, less T-bone intersections, and more. The actions that do happen tend to be more fender benders, and so there's less damage, less injury, and so those are typically very safe. However, if you just plunk one down immediately with no public support, no public input, you got a lot of people who aren't comfortable, don't know how to use it, aren't used to it. It's a problem, right? So you need to strike this balance between what the public will accept and what is usable by the public, and then what is the safest option and the most effective way of moving traffic around. So we do want lots of input on that. And it's
Your open house is going to be up there on First Street, or you're going to have it
no,
here?
the transportation system plan open house will be here at City Hall,
Okay.
June 3rd. 6 o'clock is the plan.
That's the only thing about Clover Park, and except for the other thing of lowering the height of Freedom Hill, Fountain Hill. I think we've talked about that before in here. Yeah, I'm looking at Dominic because
Oh, he's over there nodding. He said, yeah,
he knows
give me a
Yeah.
backhoe, he says.
one of those big jobs.
So
Anyway, 20 years down the road, Dominic, there we go.
I'd be ready to retire, Dominic, by the time you get this all done. So,
I guess you could also fill in areas and bring the paths up so that they're visible, whichever is easier.
well, again, great plan, and I appreciate that.
Do you-
But I think for the park board ourselves and is to continue to challenge ourselves to be more visible at these public meetings. I know for me, it's been, I echo, well, no, I missed that one. I didn't catch it, or I had something else planned and it got in the way, but I can't advocate for this group here to learn to be a lot more advocates and ambassadors to be in support for Blair and them. So he just isn't there by himself getting the public. We have to be there to help support this process. So
Oh, it educates us
Yeah.
also. We say the right things.
One, just to kind of steer us back to one of the things that we want to accomplish out of this meeting. Obviously, when we've talked about some of them, there's a number of park recommendations and various priorities. Are there any of these recommendations that are simply not appropriate? Or are there any recommendations that you feel are higher priority than others for those individual parks? Not necessarily one park over another, but when we're talking about improvements at Ashbrook or improvements at Clover, et cetera, are there some of those improvements you see as higher priority to you, or any of those recommendations that you think are not reasonable or appropriate?
Unless I sit down and really dove into
Right.
this thing deep, it's not something I could just say, okay, take
I-
3 and 4 other,
I
but no,
realize
I
it's a-
agree with what you're saying. I mean, all of them, it pie in the sky, it'd be great to have everything on the plate, but in reality, can we?
So,
and how do we?
yeah, so if you have any that are right now, that's great. We want to hear that. If you want more time to review this, please take the next couple of days and look over it and email us with what you're concerned about or any changes, because the next step for this project is to take it to the city council at a work session on the 28th of May. And that'll get feedback from the council. And then based on that feedback and your feedback, there will be essentially a final version created that will go before the council for adoption. So any comments you can get us in the next couple of days can possibly make it into a version for the council to look at, or worst case scenario can be included as feedback at that council work session also. If I
Do you want that
have
sent to you,
time.
Blair?
You can send it if you want to email it to me and copy on Diana, Angela. We'll make sure that the consultants.
Okay.
Is the work session, is that a public meeting?
Council work sessions are public meetings.
They are?
They're not a public feedback meeting. So
Yeah.
there won't be a time for any comments from anybody showing up, but they certainly can observe. Often there's back and forth between council and staff, answering questions and talking about possibilities. And but there will be no vote taken that.
Yeah.
It'll
Yeah.
basically just be consensus and individual items of feedback from counselors.
So that's what moves it from draft to final is the council approval.
Yes, once, so, the amount of feedback that we've gotten, obviously this body is very important for that, but the initial surveys from the public and various public comments, once there is a final version, for the council to adopt, we will of course be making that available for everybody to look at. And so at the meeting where it's up for final adoption, there will be opportunity for public comment on those things as well. So we don't, there's never a time when we don't want to hear from people. We prefer that it be before the final vote so that we're correcting a draft rather than amending something that's already been adopted. But we always want to hear from people.
I don't know, there might be a time when you don't want to hear. So
I'll tell you.
it's the
about that later.
quality of input back. So
A little later, I'll report on our meeting we had a couple weeks ago.
I have just 2 items.
Yeah.
From my review of this. One is Ashbrook. I'd kind of prefer to flip the restroom lighting and security and move that at least to a medium, move it up. If you're going to improve the playground and the basketball, if you're going to do things that are going to attract more people, then I think lighting, security, facilities kind of becomes almost on par with that. And I know we've had vandalism issues there in the past. And the same with, which one is it? North side. If we could bump up at least kind of the security, I think lighting is okay. I guess I haven't driven around out there at night, but there's dark areas. It's got some.
has potential.
But even if you could break that up and kind of move, if you're going to do things that are going to bring more people because you're improving the site, then I think hand in hand, some type of security, lighting, that type of thing. Those are just really small, kind of
We're
nitpicky.
good with that.
Yeah.
This changes make sense.
And then when you're looking at breaking out on a cost basis, breaking out security from a whole bunch of other things, you're perhaps it's easier to find funds for just that.
It's always nice to have more detail
Yeah.
on what each thing will cost, but, because we may phase it or
Mhm.
get a grant for one thing, but it's not eligible for the other things.
Do you need some type of official recommendation from this body before it goes to work session or before it goes to city council? Do you just need
So,
we've reviewed, we like it?
I don't, I mean, certainly when it goes before the council, they're gonna want to know who has commented and
Okay.
who's good with it. And so if, certainly if you feel, it appropriate, a vote of support in favor of the draft, would certainly be helpful when it goes before the council. If you want to word it in such a way that you're in favor of it, but you still want to give feedback on priorities of various projects, then certainly you can add a little caveat there.
So when do you want it in front of council?
This will be, the work session will be on the 28th. And we don't have, I don't recall if we set a specific council meeting for adoption.
Not yet.
Not yet.
The work session for council, this is, we may have been to council early in the process, but we've not updated them on the process as of late. So the work session before council will be similar to the last work session we did with Parks Board, coupled with this work session. So we'll bring them up to speed on the entire process, and then all the recommendations, and getting feedback from them on recommendations and priorities. That's what's gonna happen on the 28th, and then the draft plan is in production now, and will be produced. It will appear after that work session, and then got to figure out how we sequence this for the adoption. There may be an opportunity for us to come back to Parks Board in June and get a recommendation. We definitely would like to have that going into council adoption. And then we have also done joint meetings or work sessions with Parks Board and councils. And so we could do it all in one meeting, perhaps in June, but yeah, let's figure out what works for you. I know you've got a bunch of other plans happening. Let's figure out what works, but we're focused on the work session on the 28th, and then the draft plan will appear after that.
Yeah, now that I've thought about it a little bit more and with your comments, I think for the purposes of this meeting, I don't think a vote for a recommendation is necessary. But we certainly at the next Park and Tree
Just thinking
Committee
the next time
meeting,
around.
we'll at least have an updated draft. And hopefully even a final adoption ready version that then could be voted on as a recommendation that it be adopted.
Yeah. I agree. I think by the time we get our feedback to you, and we'll be a little more solid on it. Any more questions or
Well,
comments?
The other thing is, I'm just thinking back to some of the stuff we've discussed before, like Sankey Park for install a splash pad. I think we voted against that before.
Which one? That's it.
Page 3, splash pad. Am I wrong?
3 and 7.
I'm trying to find-
Like page 3 and then down to community park recommendations. And then we have restrooms there at Sankey Park. Do you mean restrooms up at the top,
That's the upper.
So
the upper part?
Yeah, that's correct. We'll clarify that.
Looks like this.
You sure use that restroom up there.
And that would be with the
Just printed it out so I could
pump track,
read it.
Yeah.
correct?
Correct. Yeah, pump track, I believe basketball court.
Splash.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is
And
that
then
where the basketball
on the,
court would go up front?
Yeah.
on the splash pad, we are responding to public input about interest in water play areas. And so we do see that as a an opportunity that's not provided for the system. So we would consider, yeah, I think it's a medium-term recommendation.
Wait.
Not at Sankey, we urge you to consider it somewhere else, long-term, but.
I know we've talked about it before. I
Yeah.
think a lot of it was liability and I mean, there's just a number of issues. I do know people, I see it all the time post, we want a splash pad, so I know that that's
Yeah.
something that people do want, so.
Yeah, there's, liability and operations and maintenance considerations, but we
Well, I think the-
recognize it as an amenity that is provided in similar sized communities that Sweet Home doesn't have.
I think the one thing too is when we look at our park systems, we don't have sunshine 365 days a year. So, it's what can we do to our parks to enhance their use during even the fall and winter months, So, splash pad in the winter, probably not the biggest thing, but might be an ice skating rink, but so.
Well, and depending on how it's designed, they can be multi-use spaces or seasonal. You turn off the water and it becomes a plaza.
At my neighborhood park in Eugene, it's actually a mini park. There's a basketball court and splash pad. And they only turn the splash pad on during June, July, August. And then it's just a few jets in the concrete, and the rest of the time it's a basketball court.
That's good.
And I think the thing, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like this is a living document. This isn't something that just sets in stone, and this is definitely 100%. I mean, the majority of it, you want to get it as close as you can, but I think, as Blair said, you don't want something just sets on the shelf. As times change and needs change, we have to have that flexibility to update and change.
Anything with a
Document.
20-year horizon on it,
Right.
Yeah.
can't be set in stone.
So,
Yeah, correct. 20 years ago, we would not have projected the need for pickleball or just pickleball.
Right,
And
right.
now we're getting crushed by requests for pickleball courts. So who knows what difference.
and the
sport
trend may
will be
change in 5 years, 10
now,
years.
Five,
you know,
10 years from now.
so.
For splash pad, my favorite location is somewhere in the downtown, actually.
That would be cool.
I love that.
And
Downtown
Corvallis, you
park.
see, it's right along the river. They have that, sidewalk there, right along the river. You've been there?
No, I haven't, but I've been to similar places, but yeah.
So we have a downtown location for a park. Downtown park and
Well, we've actually got a plan. It's gonna be money dependent, but the parking lot that's between Old City Hall and the library,
yeah,
there are some possibilities there because right now there's a lot of wasted space.
Yeah.
Because it's got that green strip on the outside. But if you take the same number of parking spots and make them all on-street parking spots where you have head-in parking, it would necessarily slow down the streets, but that's kind of a great idea. But if you can do that, then you can consolidate all that green space in the middle and put a space that's more conducive to the farmer's market, more conducive to community market, and perhaps you can get some sort of splash pad in there.
you might want to put in a fire pit there because when I walked through there yesterday, there was an individual had a fire in the middle of the parking lot. And I'm like, I could smell smoke and I thought, what the heck is that? And it
We
was
should call the police.
it was about this much debris, where the bus station stop is there, about out there, the parking lot, little pile of leaves and that, and it was,
very much
like,
very much illegal. Please call the police if
There you
you've
go.
ever witnessed that.
yeah, just
Not appropriate.
thought it was pretty interesting. Fire pits, think fire pits, so.
I don't know that we want to encourage
Is
that.
that
one.
Is that a recommendation? We have done communal fire pits, and there's a park in Sister.
I was just kidding.
Yeah.
You don't want to pile a fire with there, guys.
I
Just
mean,
like-
I can see a space for, if it's a space that typically has community events, I can see some sort of fire table or something that can only be used at specific times, maybe.
There's a little park in Sisters. They actually have one. It's the
Right,
yeah.
tripod with the big, huge steel.
Yeah, we designed that park.
Oh, there
Oh,
you
wow.
go.
Is that propane? Is that a gas?
No, I think
or
that's
is it
just,
actually wood
No,
burning?
it's wood.
It's just a
fire.
wood
Yeah,
one.
it was designed by an artist, and it's
you go into
That's cool.
wood fired.
Sisters, it's kind of,
I know where the park is. in Sister.
First Street.
well,
Park
there's
is
two.
Just off of Main Street, behind the Dino gas station.
Oh, okay.
It's not big, but I see a lot of people there. We always go
Yeah,
there.
It has a
and-
splash pad
Yeah,
and
that's
and an
concert.
amphitheater and a fire pit.
Yep.
Music a lot.
Well, and just a reminder, we did have barbecue pits in Sankey Park and there were very many reasons why we got rid of them.
Yes,
Oh, I understand.
The use of them was not for barbecuing for most of the park,
Right.
so there was that reason. So just a slight reminder.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Okay.
I think it's back to his point. If you have a community event where you actually have a group there actually maintaining it. So anyone else have anything? Matthew? Been awful
I'm
quiet.
curious about Quarry Park. Maybe put fire pits at Quarry Park. Is camping gonna stay there?
My understanding is they're still going to do camping this year. As far as I know, I haven't terribly been involved in that. We do have a request for interest out right now for Quarry for some sort of public-private partnership, and that closes on June 5th. So hopefully we'll get some good responses from that of interest and from the private sector on developing things there. So stay tuned.
Anyone else, Deborah?
Mm.
Nancy?
So then we're gonna study this and then come back later.
Yeah, and then
meeting.
next month we'll come in with a motion recommendation to move forward with it. So
And once again, any comments or especially when it comes to the projects that are identified and the priority of those projects, really love to see your comments in the next few days. Be great.
we'll do that. So everyone, you got a homework assignment,
Mhm.
2-3 days, get to Blair.
All right.
All right. Thank you for your
Thank you.
presentation. Appreciate that.
Did a great job.
Wally's not here, but the cut the gut.
I can report on that because I was in the meeting. So for the cut the gut checkpoint, the application has been sent in and the Park and Street Committee is going to partner with the Sweet Home Community Foundation. The stop is going to be in the upper parking lot in Sankey Park up by the bridge. I didn't bring the little diagram of how we were going to set it up, but the cars will pull in. So if you're standing in the parking lot and you're looking up at Ames Creek, so the park's behind me, you'll pull in. There'll be kind of a booth and a checkpoint where the cars will stop. Whatever the swag is, Community Foundation is gonna provide some swag. We're gonna provide some swag. Have a spot where the cars can pull up and have the bridge behind them. So if there wants to be a photo shoot type of thing, and then they will pull out and keep going out. So like I said, the application has been in, everything. We're just working on getting all the swag done and getting that ordered and
I think
just
Wally's working on.
volunteers to man it that day and kind of help guide traffic in the booths. The Community Foundation will also have people. So
Good.
Already signed up.
I think Wally was just saying
At the
was
end.
deciding who will be there.
yeah,
And then he was working on a photographer for that to see how that would work. So sounds to me like that's pretty well all put together.
So
Anything
my
else?
question was, last time I volunteered to make the $100 basket or whatever. So what's up with that? Wally said it's already taken care of.
Community Foundation is putting the basket together.
That was,
Well, it would have been nice if I would have known something about it.
You brought the
I
back.
talked to Bob,
too.
had a meeting with him,
Yeah.
and
Not
that
this,
was,
Bob.
and that was what, yeah, not that Bob, the former police chief,
Yes.
whatever his name is.
Burford.
Bob Burford.
Yeah,
Burford.
Bob Burford.
Who you
Yeah.
are.
He, that was the thing, they were trying to figure out how to do, what needed to be done, the money wise, and they were gonna take care of the raffle basket for him. Sorry about that. That was
Yeah. Well, it's just because we talked about it.
yeah, I forgot about it.
Then I was surprised with, nope, you're not doing it. Somebody else
Oh.
is.
Yeah, no, that wasn't directed at you. I just forgot that you had volunteered to do that when I met with him.
Yeah, their board they had a board meeting. It was that same day that
Yeah,
we met
they
with them,
did.
right? Yeah, the board meeting and there was a list of things that we all had to provide, swag and different things. And their board was willing to do the basket. And then they haven't told me what swag they're going to provide, but we'll probably do the chamois.
Yeah,
And then probably touch base with Bob again to see what exactly they're going to do and then for setup purposes. So
So Nancy,
But it's okay. It was just lack of communication.
it does happen.
It does.
good part is you know who to blame it on.
Mhm.
Wally.
Well-
No, not you.
And pulling from our previous conversation, that'll be a great opportunity for marketing.
mhm.
Yeah, that's that marketing thing we talked about.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have that, what's the square? We're gonna have that on the thing, put money in. That's what we had talked about too.
Oh, the Venmo.
Yes.
Oh, a QR code?
So
Yeah.
do you
For the
want,
park.
I guess, so you want flyers with exactly what are you guys looking for to
Well,
have at
you-
the table?
You had told us that you could make, like what we did when we collect money for the bridge.
Mhm.
Said they could put that on, what's that called? Is it a square?
A QR
The
code?
QR.
QR code.
Okay,
Yeah,
because like I said at the last meeting, it's a wonderful opportunity people come through there with very expensive cars. Those
Mhm.
people have some bucks. And if we could have more flyers with our parks thing and some of our goals, if, I don't know.
So you want a donation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
people
we
can
have it
donate.
set up for the Sankey Park Phase 3 that you can donate toward that, and the
Yeah.
bridge you can donate toward that. So the QR code, if you want two separate ones for, so people can choose, if you want one, just so they can go to the page and look at it. So it'll be two separate QR codes depending on which way you want it directed. I could put both of them on there, or I could just put one directing to the web page, our parks webpage. We don't have a lot on our parks webpage right now, so.
I think if you put two, I would think if you put two of them, put them both on there, just describe what they are,
Mhm.
you know, and if somebody has heartfelt thing towards one thing or the other.
And we can make like smaller versions for handouts. So if they don't want to pay right then and there, you guys can give them, you know, like a half page and just hand it out with the swag. And so they would have it.
Yeah,
We could do
Yeah,
half pages.
anything.
Okay.
It's the opportunity.
yeah,
Some money.
absolutely.
Anything else on cut the gut? You have any?
And I know that the Venmo thing's a great idea because I'm going to some wedding thing next Friday. It's not, they're not getting married. It's something beforehand. I don't know what it is.
Pre-wedding?
I don't know what it is. They got a swag jar.
Engagement
party.
A jar for their thing, you know, where you put money in.
That's
And they
for
said they're
free.
also gonna have a Venmo thing if you want to just, I was like, thank goodness. I don't have to deal with trying to remember to bring money.
Yeah, we won't have Venmo, but we will have the QR code that will take you to our payment portal.
Okay.
And we could
Why-
also
I'm
have,
just curious, why does the city not have a Venmo thing?
I believe it's not free. I mean, it may be free for you to send money through Venmo, but for them to, they have different structures. If you have, if for private parties, for individual people,
Yeah,
their fees are pretty low. They don't really charge much, and especially if you keep all your money in your Venmo account,
yeah,
then you don't get charged anything to take it out. But if you're a commercial enterprise,
yeah.
there are, which we would be classified, there are significant fees.
Then it's like a credit card thing.
Well, it's not just the credit card, it's it's the payment fees, and then to actually transfer the money out of
Oh,
Venmo
okay.
is gonna kick a fee toward.
That makes sense.
So I think mainly the cost of it is the frustrating part.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay,
Where are you been?
so then we need, more flyers on the parks and stuff too, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
We can make sure we have additional copies of what we have and make some adjustments. I think there's a couple of errors that we need to correct.
Yep. so have we determined, because I wasn't here,
Yeah, you will.
I know. Did we determine who's gonna be there?
We
You,
did last time.
Yeah, I won't be.
no, it
Well,
hadn't been
We
determined.
did last time.
I thought we did.
We did.
I thought it was
Yeah.
I think
Matthew,
Matthew-
Lena,
Nancy,
Nancy, and Deb.
right.
And Bob and I are gonna be gone.
And I'll make it a point to work with Diane and kind of make sure we have our
Yeah.
appropriate handouts, maps, you know,
Right.
what we want to put on
Yep.
the table. So
We'll make
along
sure-
with
we'll-
I'll
Oh,
link in the flyers.
and Angela, so we could have the
Yep.
flyers with the QR code. So,
Okay,
and of course, you know, a table or tablecloth.
And I did,
Properly anchored canopy.
Yeah, it's not going to be windy. This is July 12th, so it won't even be raining.
Well, that's good. We'll have to talk to our weatherman here.
Yeah.
and the community foundation will also, I talked to Bob about if they have, you know, will have different setups so that they can also have, they won't have a tablecloth, but maybe some sort of banner he
Yeah.
said that they might have. So
Yeah.
I'll touch base with him and see what they have so we can make sure to have it all set up.
Okay.
Undoubtedly, they'll be raising money as well.
Right down here, will we?
They're gonna have a QR thing too.
Oh, I have no doubt that, I'm not sure why, I mean, you're the community foundation, you're always looking for information.
Just check each one of them.
Yep,
That's
please,
all right.
all three.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on down to old business, which is the Ivy Pool at Sankey Park, which Wally can report out on, I'm sure.
yeah. I Deb, how did you feel about that? I thought the kids did a really good job.
They did a great job. Yes, I think we could have them back again.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Any little bit of help, you know, we could get.
Was there a great amount of participation from,
yes.
Yeah.
They
How
were
many?
probably, we pulled in 2 separate locations, and I'll bet they were 40 kids,
Nice.
Wow.
probably between them. And when we got in there, because all the group that was there got in and put hands on and started ripping ivy out of the ground. I mean, when we got into it, they got into it. And they were determined. I was surprised.
They're waiting for the.
You identified the enemy and they
Mhm.
Yeah,
Executed.
yeah.
executed.
So they
Yeah.
released all that stress, went back to school and just performed excellent.
Pretty dirty. So Wally, could you get me, I see you sent me your time. Could you possibly send me how many kids were there and how many hours each kid? Because that will also count toward
Okay.
the Tree City USA time.
I don't know. I'll have the exact number. Does that matter?
If you could just give me a rough estimate
Best
and then I can add it to
It
this.
was 38 for 1 hour. You want me to
38 kids,
email you that?
38 kids.
Yeah. And they were there exactly 1 hour.
And I think that
There
the
you go.
city/parks board should send them a thank you card. This school district.
Yeah.
So I took some good pictures. Diane, you got those, right? I emailed all the
Thank you.
pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I emailed the pictures right after the event to post on the city page and say thank you.
When you-
That'd be good.
But I-
forward
yeah, I
that
hadn't heard from you.
With some specifics about the event.
I wondered.
on social media, thank-
did get the pictures and I forwarded it to Adam.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. It'd be-
You'll forward
but
them
we
to me,
didn't-
and then I can save them in the folder.
I'll follow up with Adam and make sure we. do
Yeah,
a
we were
social
just
media
thinking it'd be
post.
nice to kind of post it publicly
Yeah.
as a, a thank you.
Yeah.
Show kids
Yeah.
doing good
So-
stuff.
Well, especially showing what these terrible kids of Sweet Home are doing.
Yeah.
You know, we always see the bad things, so it'd be good to show the
Right.
good things kids
Mhm.
are doing.
Mhm.
She wasn't.
My kid wasn't in any of those pictures.
Sometimes they do that.
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
That was, yeah,
Important.
okay.
So when we have events like that, we take pictures, is that something that we can utilize our local paper to put things in? I mean, it's just a question. I mean, that's one way to say acknowledgement is,
We certainly can pass information on to the paper of
Do they wanna
the
use it?
items. What they choose to do with it is
Yeah.
up to them.
Yeah.
but I'm thinking that's not a bad way to have pictures out and about that, if they're not at those events, that we can definitely drop it to
we
them.
can certainly issue a press release and see who picks it up.
So I've been to several city council meetings, but so with Mr. Trask, does he actually report to the council of some of the things that we've been doing?
So there is time at every council meeting for reports of the various committees that the councilors are a part of. And some often will report on what has happened and what is going to happen. So that's certainly within the scope of his.
But the
Position.
council also has access to read the minutes from our meetings.
I mean, the minutes, once they're adopted, they're public, and so anybody has access to
Right.
them. I don't think, they're not normally provided as part of the council packet. So a counselor would have to go look for them to find.
Once they're approved, they're uploaded onto our website
Yeah.
where the agendas and minutes are. So, and anybody can go access them, but they're
Yeah.
not given an individual copy of them.
So we done with the Ivy pool.
I think we need this is my opinion, but I think in the next 3 weeks, we as a committee need to go back, and I call it an ivy cut. And go, because if you look at the trees that we did a year ago, that ivy's all dead. And so, and the kids helped us pull a bunch of that stuff. I don't see us pulling it, us. I did for an hour and I was in a coma for the rest of the day. So,
Except for you went to the doctor this
yeah.
shoulder replacement.
Yeah. So, but I think the cutting of the ivy would be good. So we should pick a date and go back out and have another work day.
Yes, I agree.
So
I second that.
There's a third week of June or somewhere in there, because I'm gonna be away for 2 weeks
Oh.
versus doing stuff. I'm always gone. That's not a bad thing. I plan these things here.
I also think since it was so good with the youth, that maybe we should invite some youth groups, churches and 4-H and different things like that. If the kids would like to, because I know they have to do community projects too.
Right?
But maybe we should start inviting them when we do things like this.
Mhm. We'd have to do it either after school's completed for the year or in the evening then.
Right.
But for today, I think we should pick a day and have a
Got him, Jim.
an attack day. So
Cool.
May 28th, it's gonna be nice and cool
Good, I'm gone.
and so,
Tuesday.
yeah, Tuesday.
I'm gone.
Not gonna be hot that morning.
That's what I fly out.
Is
So
that-
I'm good.
Is it?
I'm good. Go ahead and pick that day.
Does that day work for you guys?
Yes.
Tuesday's good for me, yeah.
And all we're gonna do is just go cut it, so it's.
Yeah, we're gonna remove stuff. Probably
Cut the
meet
bits
up
of
at,
trees,
yeah, probably meet up down there at 9 o'clock and, spend a couple hours cutting back and pulling down ivy again.
Fine.
So school's out for Tyson, and so I can get Ashley and Tyson maybe to help.
On May 28th?
Yeah, he goes to charter school.
Oh, okay,
They get out the 24th.
okay.
We got a South Trail that needs some work too.
Yeah,
I mean, I was looking at that, was looking at the South Trail as maybe doing a cleanup along it because there's still a lot of limbs and stuff down there. And I talked to Dominique about us maybe going along and just picking them up, throwing them on a trailer and get it out of there. So I think that's another quick project for us.
okay.
Well, he's involved with the downtown cleanup stuff. Maybe we can get some of those people to help.
Yeah, I can promote it through Sanam Sound.
There you
That's
go.
fine, yeah.
Okay, so May 28th, 9 o'clock. That works for everyone?
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Where are we meeting at?
Huh?
Where are we meeting?
Over where we pulled the ivy?
I didn't go last time. You mean originally?
Same place you
Yeah,
were.
where we pulled the ivy from,
Right.
on the other side of the ditch.
Okay,
Yeah.
right,
Stinky
Yeah, I
Park,
know that.
16th and First Street.
okay.
That works great.
Well, it's right before
Yeah.
Memorial Day weekend.
Hmm.
Oh, no, it's not.
After.
Right after.
Right after.
So, yeah, that's why I was thinking it'd be a good day.
Okay.
Okay,
I have,
we got a date and we got an
Yeah.
ivy pool out of the way.
I have 2 other items that I didn't get on the agenda for old business.
You want to do that down the round table?
Or round table, that's fine too. Mhm.
It's wherever you want.
Wherever that's.
We're down to round table.
I have an item to bring up.
He has.
But I don't wanna-
Blair had one.
No, go first.
I was just gonna report on, a couple weeks ago, we had while he was there, we had a neighborhood meeting for, proposed park at, 42nd and Osage. City owns that parcel, and so the city is free to do with it what the city wishes. But we sent some mailers out to people within a certain distance of that location to kind of get feedback on, things that they would like to see in a park. We even asked if they had suggestions on names or anything like that. I was a bit surprised. We did have about, I don't know, 10 people show up. I had one phone call as soon as the mailer was received. Was quite surprised actually at the resistance that I encountered from some folks about having a park. There was concern. There were a number of concerns that were brought up. Most were had to do with transients coming through and concerns about that. And then there were concerns about what improvements would go in because the street is not great there and needs to be fully developed. There were concerns about additional traffic coming into the neighborhood and not wanting that. We talked a lot. I talked a lot, but we had some good questions at the meeting. Essentially, what I said was, when you get more eyes on a location, you do see a decrease in the negative element at that location. That's what we saw with Stinky Park. That's what we are planning with this location. And so we don't think this will make anything worse than the current situation. We think it'll be an improvement because the plan is for additional lighting, thinning out the trees, having it more visible, and installing security cameras. And the idea is that this would be amenity for the adjoining neighborhoods. And so there is not a plan for bringing in a large number of traffic. This is a neighborhood park, and the intent is to include parking, include street improvements in the development, so that what traffic there is has a place and is all planned for. So a separate item that is related is that as I mentioned, that parcel is owned by the city. It's heavily forested, and the timber does need to be managed. And so there is I believe CTC is involved with an effort that Public Works is moving forward with actually harvesting trees at that location. So I don't know exactly how much will be taken down, but it'll be done as a properly managed process there. So the residents will see a difference. One of the awkward things about parks is that you definitely want to have trees in them, but you want to have the right kind of trees. As we know from Sankey Park, the wrong kind of tree can really cause a problem. So it's unclear what trees on that property are really suitable for a park. And so we may have a significant number of trees taken down and need to replace with the proper trees. But that's kind of a moving target. We'll see how things develop. But I just wanted to kind of report on that meeting. I guess one of the takeaways in my mind is that there's a lot of public education needed on what a park does for a neighborhood. I tried to bring up plenty of my own experiences about having Ashbrook Park near my house. It's a really nice amenity to have, to be able to say, hey kids, go down to the park. It's only a couple blocks away. I don't need to worry about them crossing significant traffic to get there and all that. It's a really nice thing. It was a selling point when I bought my house. And for most people, I believe, that are looking for a home in a neighborhood, it is a selling point. It improves the value of property. That message is not as universal, or that thought is not as universal as I thought. There's a significant number of people who don't see that as, I guess, as an amenity, because they have a view, and what I think is an outdated view of parks as being a place that attracts the people they don't want next to their house. So there is a lot of work to do, I think, for the city, for all of our volunteers, for all of our committees to put out the right message of what parks really do for the city and for a neighborhood, because I have a hard time seeing it downside, because they're great. Obviously, I'm preaching to the choir, but just kind of wanted to share that experience with you and encourage you to join me in combating these negative impressions that some people have.
I saw some people were upset cutting down trees again. They said, I thought this was Tree City USA. And what about, like you said, it takes for certain trees. It's not always.
And it's interesting because we live in what still is a logging town. And so there certainly is a lot of folks that are in favor of cutting down trees. We need to balance that with what's the proper amount of trees to be taken down. When is the right time to take down a tree? And what are the right types of trees to replace them with? Because yes, we are Tree City USA. Yes, we keep track of when we take down trees, but the Tree City folks, if we develop a property with existing trees and that development damages the roots of those trees, which often does happen, then suddenly you've got unhealthy and future dangerous trees on that property, which is not good for anybody. So we want to avoid those situations and properly manage this. So it's one of those areas where the city is trying to walk a fine line in the middle, and we need the public to understand that this is a balance that needs to be struck.
One of the, one of the examples that we gave also, a lot of people were hesitant to remove some additional trees in Sankey Park. There are still a lot of trees in Sankey Park, but removing a few key trees opened it up. It's no longer as dark as it was, which helps not only you know, the grass that's underneath it, but it also is more visibility. And that's one thing that we had spoken about. The people that were hesitant about the trees, it's like, well, you know, you're complaining about people sneaking back in here and not being able to see them. Well, we remove some of those trees, it'll lighten everything up. You'll be able to see through there. So they started, you know, warming up to the idea a little bit more, especially giving them examples of how successful Sankey is. You know, we opened it up, we put some stuff in there. We don't have as many issues as we had before. And so, you know, like Blair said, the management of the trees is just as important as planting new trees here. So, you know, they will not scoff at us if we're removing danger trees or to do management of areas like that. So, and the community members by the end of the meeting, they were not like jumping up and down with balloons and confetti, but they at least were thinking about it a little bit differently by the time we were done. So
I think we'll have many more conversations that are similar to that as we move forward with the Parks Master Plan and everything that we want to do. And that's the thing is I think that in the past, a lot of folks haven't felt included in the feedback. And it's one of those things where you definitely want to include the public, but you got to understand that once you turn that valve, everything that's been backing up is going to come out first. And that's going to be, you're going to have a flood of negative stuff. And then if you keep on with the public feedback and the public comments that as you move forward, it's going to clear up and you're going to start to see some more positive.
Well, it goes back to what I was talking earlier again about marketing and how we market our parks and use them. And as I think, you know, we focus so much on Sankey Park and our events there, I can see a vision where annually we choose different parks to have events at to let those neighbors in that neighborhood say, oh, we are using it. And it's like Northside Park when we went down there and put a dog park in and, you know, and did what we did there. And then the community in that neighborhood showed up and they could see the benefit and value of the work that was done there.
Yeah.
So I think the more we do that, then that negative stuff you're talking about, Blair, will start going away.
Yeah.
Have you had any follow-up with those people since that meeting?
Not since, no.
So I have.
Hmm.
I physically went, I'd never been there to that area. And so I went there and I spent an hour just walking.
Yeah, you mentioned you.
No, at this 42nd.
42nd stage.
Yeah, I parked there because I wanted to see this. First, I wanted to see because you got to admit, in that hour, we only talked about the park for 20 minutes. I mean, the rest of it was
other topics,
drug dealing, you know, homeless people and roads.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we didn't come, I know those are problems and yes, but this isn't about an improvement to your area. So I thought if it's so bad, I need to go look at it. So I went and saw the horrible area and I would live there just for reference.
Yeah.
So, and I walked that entire thing. I walked through all of the woods to see what was in the woods, you know, where the park's going to go, every bit of it. I spent a long time in there. And since then I've ran into, I think his name's Terry
Lee.
He's the guy that lived on
lives
the
across
corner.
the street.
And he has really had a change of heart.
Has he?
Yes.
Good.
And I've had two different interactions with him. And he's now kind of come around to the fact that the park idea wouldn't be bad. His whole concern was parking, you know, was like, that was it. And, you know, once we talked about where people would park and how the parking could go, and he was, you know, kind of went along with it. And on Facebook, there's one person who I reached back out to. In my mind, it was a very evil way of doing it, but kind of asked the question of, you know, it's nice to throw this smart aleck remark out there, but what did you learn at the meeting? You saw that, yeah, because she didn't go to the meeting, but she wanted to make comments. So, and I got a nice response from
You're going to have that.
So,
You're good.
yeah, but I wasn't going to put up with it. So if you care, show up. If you don't care, shut your cake hole. That's my opinion.
Let's,
So,
got a couple more.
yeah, I know. Well, anyways, I just wanted to say it's actually turning, and the people in the area, when you stand there and talk to them in the neighborhood, they're a little more motivated.
Good. Glad to hear it.
I have one more question. I'm just going to tag on to that.
Next time we do something like that. For some reason, I just either spaced the date or forgot we were doing that or.
Yeah.
But if you had all of us come with you, this is back to
Yeah.
exposure.
Yep.
It's backing you and we can speak from our own experiences about the benefit of parks
Yep.
and the natural environment and the benefits.
This was very much a lesson learned.
Yeah.
There's a
So-
lot of things we do differently.
Bring your backup crew.
Yeah,
We'll come.
I appreciate it.
Okay, so my final question.
10 seconds.
So so when is the goal for the city to have this park there and how much do we have to go out and get grant money again?
The actual timing of it is going to depend on funding. And there are different things that'll happen at different times based on that funding. The tree harvesting will happen sooner because that's fully within our control and we know it needs to be done. But the intent also is that any money made off of harvesting of the trees would go into developing stuff on site.
Nice.
So we tomorrow I should have some estimates on paving and concrete work to get a better idea of what that's going to cost us. And then there already are a couple of grants in the works for this particular site that are
It's easy.
that the city manager has been working on and that Angela has been working on. So it's not something. Yes, we are applying for grants. It is not. We have not sought donations for this purpose. Though. So. So I don't know of any activity necessary from the park. and Street.
We're still trying to pay for Sankey Park.
Yes, and this shouldn't affect that.
So,
I think
and
the
also,
idea is
Gotta wrap it up.
one idea, because if you don't get any grants and no money, it doesn't happen.
Well,
The
and so
thinning's gonna happen, but
for this park, if you remember right, even with Sankey Park, so the playground structure itself that we got, the playground company actually did the match. They did 100% match from what we had to come up with. So we can do a grant and match it with another grant. And so that's what we are looking at right now. So it wouldn't be something that we would need to go to the community with because we would be doing it the same way. There were some other things with the first Sankey Park that we were able to find for like the playground. We were able to find a grant that came from the playground company itself. And so we're looking into a lot of that. So it wouldn't be a lot of money coming from a community. It would be more from the companies itself. So.
Okay, we need to wrap this one up, but.
Yeah.
One last comment, Arbor Day. I think that was a job well done by everyone.
That's
in
where I
there,
was
and It
going.
was very
All of you.
successful
Mhm.
event and I could see where we can build on that in the future. So.
Yeah.
thank you. That was
Thank
my,
you.
And
can I,
from staff, I want to especially
thank
thank all of you for your participation in that. It was very much a success and I credit all of you for how it turned out. It
So
was-
can
it
we
was
send
great.
a thank you card I'm big on thank you cards to the Jamboree also for letting us use that. What was
Oh,
it?
the game,
The four across,
oh, yeah.
Connect,
Connect Four.
Connect four, please.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah,
Okay, I also wanted to follow up with our Arbor Day / Kids to Park Day. I think that was great. And in my mind, we could have our Arbor Day event and activities and move them around to our different parks. So having said that, we've done Northside, we've done Sankey. I don't know if there's going to be anything that we could do with the new City Hall Park. I mean, this time next year where we're going to be at. But we can always go back to Sankey or Northside. And Ashbrook needs a little love.
Mhm.
I don't really want to plop new trees in there till we kind of look at where we're going down the road. But
Room for parking.
yeah, Sankey still needs 2 replacement trees for the Carol Lewis Memorial and the Ames Creek project tree by the bridge. So those are 2 on my list to replace. And then we have room for 3 more cherry trees along the sidewalk. And so there's trees that we can use to enhance what's existing at Sankey. So just something food for thought for next year. But I think overall, just the theme of it, the weather helped too, because it was a
it was
nice
good.
day.
Yeah.
You know, we brought a lot of
timing
people
was
out
perfect.
there. And I think we had a lot of people just walking by going, hey, what's happening? And
Yeah,
come on
People
in. So,
appreciated it, so
yeah. So thanks, everybody.
you want to gavel it?
speaking of trees, when you enter town, would you look at the tree at that little park? I think there's a dead tree there.
At Clover?
Clover.
Yeah, it's on Public Works maintenance to take it out. It's a birch.
Okay.
It's dead.
Yeah,
It's on their list.
I looked at it.
We're closing this one.
Earlier next year
Ready?
Hold it.
for the.
Hold 5, 4, 3.
I'll talk next meeting about, and I'll bring the pictures of some special needs parks.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Nice.
I think you will be amazed because I was at the wood that was used in the park. Natural trees used in the park. That doesn't cost a lot of money. I was flabbergasted. And then I thought about places where I've been, where I've seen that, and there were little kids playing on it, so.
This is spring loaded. We're gonna close this one.
Oh, yours, Bob.
Officially closed.
Do you have someplace you need to be? We just want to chat about all the good stuff. we're
Go
doing.
ahead and chat.
That's
Just don't.
Nice having you. There you are.